So here you go, here's the block I've put in the corner. So going back to the original where the stanchions go, the stanchions come up underneath with like these bits we cut. So drop these on top of the stanchions there, and then you know, I've measured down from here to the bottom, so this stanchion, this corner piece sticks out 32mm up there. So when I put it together, you know, this will obviously come up underneath, and then I can screw down onto there. And also when I build the box for the top now, you know, with the phone signs on it and stuff, that will come down and plonk on there nice and solid. So just to go through doing these corner pieces, it's quite quick to do but very satisfying. First of all, I want to measure down so everyone is the same, so I can put that on here, clonk, and there it goes down the same. Get one of these like clamps, clamp it on, make sure again that we're about the same. Yep, we're fine. And then first of all, we want to drill a clearance hole for the screw. Ooh. So you want to drill this just through the first bit of wood, the bracket. You can kind of feel when you push when it gets to the next bit of wood. Let's kind of do things properly as well. I want to drill a pilot hole so my screws will go in easy. And I also want a countersink hole so the screw heads go in. I mean, don't really whiz the drill for this, otherwise it will bite. Now what we can do is undo this. Bit of jollop on there, couple of screws. Make sure you put it back on the same way, otherwise the screws might not line up. Put it in the holes. There we go. It's as easy as that, and that's a result of, like, you know, those chop saws, like just cutting accurate 45s. If you were to do that by hand, you'd be struggling a little bit. And there we've got a lovely strong 100% strong corner. That's so pleasing to do something like that, you know, and it's so nice. I mean, like I say, I'm no carpenter really. If you look, what I've done here is that this corner, yeah, this corner I've made the same, that gap exactly the same size as this, so when this slips down over there, we've got roughly the same size hole going through there, so that'll be enough for wires to come up and things, so I can keep the wires right in the corner of the stanchion. And I think in phone boxes they had like some ducting for the wiring, you know, a tube sort of thing or whatever, but I can put a tube up there as well, put the wire in that, so you won't see any wire clamps and stuff. But that is so neat, isn't it? It's nice. It's just nice to be able to do that, and it's really not, you know, that many specialist tools you need. That's all I've used is the chop saw to do that. That's it. So good there, let's carry on and we'll do the other two corners, then I'll be confident that this thing isn't going to break when I'm wrestling with it, because I can see that doing this you know, assembling this phone box is going to be quite heavy, tough work sort of thing. So, you know, I don't want to be hanging things off other things weight wise and you know, splitting something or breaking something. So it's well worth doing this. So I'll do the other two now. Well, here we are, we've got all four corners in now, these braces. I'm much more of now is that putting these on haven't made it wobbly or anything, so it's still got to fit exactly in that base over there. So let's just do that now. It's looking good so far. Perfect, absolutely perfect in there. So that's the, let's have a closer look at it, and much nicer it's looking than when we had it glued up. So here we go now. It's the top and the bottom. Look at, I mean, they just spot on. So this is the top bit that goes around the top of the stanchions just above the doors, so the door is here. Now we've got to make basically the top of the post box, the, you know, the sort of curved hat bit. We have to do that, but we'll have to do these like arched sides now. So basically they will fit inside this box now, or frame, and rest on these corner pieces we put on, so it'll all drop in place. So this part has got to go perfectly in there. So the thing, I'll have to do a bit of measuring and see, but unfortunately, well, you'd be unlikely, I can't get wood. I mean, also the telephone sign goes in there, so I've got to make a hole in it basically. But these bits, it's that I haven't got a piece of wood that wide. I'll have to check what it is, but it's roughly 0.1 point. It's, well, it's near as, damn it, they're about a foot tall, that bit there. So I haven't got a piece of wood that tall. So what I'm going to have to do is make two side bits up coming up here and dowel them maybe to the arched bit that goes across the top. But you know, it's something I was planning to do anyway. So there we go. The only quite awkward bit of it, and I'll come back to it, is obviously, you know, with this curved roof, there's an angle at the top, so you have to take that into account, which I won't be exactly certain of what that angle is, but we'll work it out. So let's get going on it, and then I'll bring you back when I've got some dimensions. Okay, this has actually been the most complicated bit of doing it. Right, so this is like the corner of the top, and I've actually drawn it to full size because I couldn't seem to get, you know, when I was trying to do it by scale, it just wasn't going to be accurate enough, so I've drawn it full size. So what you've got on a telephone box is you've got the little window in here that says telephone on it, like the strip window, and that piece of glass is apparently 640 wide by 102 millimeters high, so it's probably four inches by whatever 640 is, sort of thing. So right ho, I've got the basic square done now at the top that I can build the top on. So I mean, it's going to be a bit more awkward because obviously you've got like the next bits to make now are, like I say, the posts, that these little bits that go up in the corners. I've got to make them the right width, and so that they are going to be about 78 millimeters wide by something like 104 tall, something like that. So then that'll be, you know, I'll have to make the corners on there. And once I've put the corners on and sticking up, then I've got to do like an arched bit over there. I mean, it's going to be the most complicated bit, but you can see what, you know, what I've drawn out there basically is the crux of it. I think it's just going to be something that I'll build like, you know, and draw one to one like I have done, and then you're unlikely to make any mistakes. Because so hi then, so what have I been up to on this today? Well, I've started making the frame, if you like, for the telephone sign window. So, you know, we measured up carefully on the plan what size we wanted, and basically these are 650 apart and 100 and something high, which gives you enough. There'll be a border nailed on here, sort of thing, with a 10 millimeter, 20 millimeters wide. So 10 millimeter of it will hang over and make a, you know, like a little ledge around it, so you can put the glass in from the back. So basically all these were measured to 1-to-1 scale. It's the only way I could seem to do it sensibly. So I did the typical thing, doweled them in there, glued them. So now we've got like, I don't want to leave that there because get glue on there. So the front and this is going to be the front and the back are the same, and the side is shorter, but you know, it all clips together, sort of thing. So this drops all in there very neatly. You can see how neat that looks there. So the next bit to do now will be something like, you know, the arch that goes over the top. And we've got to work out next what wood we want to do for that, what size wood we need for that. But I've got some 6-inch wide wood, so what I'll get up to is I'll be making these into another box, if you like, and you know, doweling through here and making up another box so it'll all plug together on the top, you know, and that'll be good. And we've also, as I said, we've got a hole for the wire coming up through there. So I'll be, when I put the glass in, I'll be making a box behind the glass and having lighting in it, sort of thing. So, you know, there'll be the telephone sign will be lit. I'll have to try and have a look inside a phone box and see what they. You know, I think looking here, they've got some sort of light thing up there, light fitting up there in the middle. But yeah, must be a picture online of it. So that's really good, coming on well. And well, hi there, welcome back to Phone Box Day X. Right, okay, so we started making the top section and the hood. And yesterday we made these bits for all four sides around the top. Now the next bit I've got to do is see this curved piece for the roof. Basically it goes across the front like that. I've got to do that. So you know, a bit of wood will go sort of in an arc round there. Now it's a circular curve. They did have a drawing, a dimension of that, basically saying it's 0.85 of a metre, that curve. And I've measured how high it is off here, and it's almost equidistant from this base here to there, and then again to the top of the curve. So somewhere around, I'm guessing, like basically the top of the curve is going to be somewhere up here. Well, okay, I've cut these 4 bits of wood now to do the arch top, So the arch will come up from here and go round like that. And I measured this piece, there's a very accurate dimension on there that I could work it out as 141 millimeters, and these bits of wood are actually 144, so that's really good. I mean, but what I've got to do now is go from the middle of these and from up there draw a 0.85 meter, so nearly a 2 3/4 feet or something radius, and a big compass. Start at the center and then do an accurate curve all the way along there, and then I can bandsaw that out, and we'll have done the curves then on top. But you know, it's right. Here we go. Here's how I've done the curve. I'm not sure whether that video came out. I've just basically put a right angle bit of wood down here that's about 1 meter long, and basically made a big compass. So this dimension here is 0.85 of a meter, and then drawn a curve round it like that. You have to make sure that this piece of wood is absolutely perpendicular or 90 degrees to the bit you're doing on, so the center line will run down that bit of wood. But one way you can check it, if you put it on and then mark it that end and then mark it this end and then measure both ends. I mean, I've got 38mm there and 38mm here, so I know my curve is in the middle, and then we can just draw the curve on. There we go. And I wouldn't use string. The string's a bit stretchy, and if you put a bit of string through there, you know, you can wobble the pencil a bit, and the more accurate this is, the better. So once we've cut that one out, I can just trace it onto the others. I don't need this big compass arrangement to do the next ones. Well, here we are. I've done these curved bits now, and you can see that there's a slight step on the edge there, because the roof as it comes down is going to chamfer, so I've got to plane off so these corners meet, kind of thing. So it's kind of doing a propeller blade kind of carve around the corner, but I won't do that till the tops are on, sort of thing. And I'm coming to the conclusion that it's actually a really cleverly designed roof. Well, here's the top now. What I've done, I've doweled and glued the corners together on all of them, so they're all like one piece now together, with a dowel drilled and put through the top. You know, just the same as every other joint I've done on this. So what I'm doing now is I want to drill and dowel the corners to make them like a box, you know, to make the whole top like a box, you know. So I've just clamped this bit of wood on the corner here so I can drill through. I'm going to drill through the top and drill through the middle there, and just put some dowels in again, and then that should be that. So we'll have another box with the arches on the top, sort of thing, that will fit in, so that'll be good. Okie doke. Right, here we go. We've got the top on now, all done, glued up, bolted on, and I did put, you can see here, I put gussets in the corner. I just didn't want that thing, was if I was working on it, trying to get the roof on and all that kind of thing, risk the thing breaking, you know, and getting all floppy. Oh, it would have driven me mad. But now this, you know, this is a structure on its own, and that will bob on the top then. So, you know, everything's really, really good and solid. I mean, you know, I suppose one thing I was saying earlier on about I should have used ply for this, really, but it wouldn't have been this solid, you know. It's just really important to clamp up all these joints before you drill the dowels and everything like that. You don't, you know, I remember me saying that one of these was a bit twisted, you know, when you put it on, when I tried to dowel it on, you know, this joint here, it wasn't nicely in line, and by putting a block of wood behind it, I clamped it so it twisted it in a little bit, so it's straight now. Yeah, it's been really good. Like I say, the first bit that looks like a telephone box, so the telephone signs go in there. And I did look up the roof on the inside. There's a picture of it on the internet, and there's no boxes or anything behind these telephone signs. It's just all lit up from one central light in the top, so that makes life a little bit simpler for me. But yeah, it's just looking great now, so I'm really pleased with that. Yep, good, thank you. Yeah, so this is what I've basically got to do to chamfer this, and this is going to be quite a long job actually, because I've obviously got eight halves to do kind of thing, but you know, I can use this little plane. I think the best way to do it is get this down to roughly the right, get the corners done to the right angle, because you know it's somewhere around there or whatever, but get the corners done and then come back, because you don't want to chamfer this like too much, and that could be all right there now, you know. So I mean, if this doesn't come out quite right, you know, because I was guesstimating these when I cut them, you know, but yeah, it's just going to be one of those things where I think, you know, I'm going to have to admit that I might have to use a little bit of filler or something, you know. Well, I must say I am absolutely so impressed with the design of this. I had problems thinking about doing this roof and thinking, oh, how the hell am I going to get it bent to shape and glued on? But the more I looked at it, the more I realised, although it's like a three-dimensional shape, like a dome almost, at any one point it's only bent in one direction. So, you know, each corner basically bends down in like a simple curve, so each corner does that, but that makes it look like a three-dimensional shape. So if we look, you know, down here, I've got all the joint, you know, it's just gone perfectly. So impressed with it. I mean, unbelievable design. I would have never thought of it in a million years. So impressed with that. But I was just imagining that I'd have to spend weeks working out how to do it, and it's taken me a morning just because it's such a good design. Oh well, thank you. Well, hello, phone box build part, goodness knows what. Right, we did the roof yesterday, and you know, great deal of success with it. But when I was actually looking at it, I think my initial euphoria at how clever it was and how, you know, I got it done. I was just looking at it and I was thinking, you know, something looks wrong with it, and I just naturally assumed, you know, you have these curves here, and you know, obviously they're the same level between, you know, there and there sort of thing, and I just like naturally assumed that the top of the roof, you know, this cross in here, if you like, was actually flat. And it's difficult because when you know, when you look on Google at pictures of K6 telephone boxes, you know, they're all taken from someone standing up, and these boxes are like 2 foot higher than most of the, you know, everybody standing there and taking the photograph. So you know, you see the photograph from the sort of slight angle and you don't see the top of the roof. And okay, I could leave it like this, but it's not right. And basically when I looked at it, the actual roof is domed a bit like that and like that. So, you know, if you look at it, the roof, instead of being flat across there, it actually has a curve over the whole thing, something like that. And it is very, very difficult to see, but there definitely is a curve. So what I want to do is, you know, okay, I'm not going to scrap this and take it off there. It's a good enough start, and my intention was to always make a fiberglass roof for it, sort of thing, or cover this with fiberglass. So what I'm going to do is start trying to make, you know, a roof like this. You know, I can't get another piece of plywood and bend it, because if it's a dome, you can't bend plywood or any wood in, you know, two directions. It'll want to fold, or you know, it's just not done. The only way you could actually do it is hammer it out in metal, which I'm certainly not going to do. So what I'm going to do is make the roof up with a few strips of plywood and put them on like that. Put one on this way, one on that way, one on that way, one on that way. So I get the actual, you know, height of the, you know, I get the shape roughly done in a sort of skeleton form. And then what I'm going to do is, like, I've got this like filler foam, which I'm hoping I can spray like between the strips of plywood, then shave it down. This is expanding stuff. Shave it down so at least I can get the shape, and then maybe, it's all touchy-feely at the moment, maybe I can then cover it with packing tape or something, and then actually lay fiberglass over it and make a fiberglass roof. And yeah, okay, it's all a bit in the air at the moment, but that's my plan. And once I've done that, I can either rip this roof off and then just put the fiberglass one on there, or leave it in place. I mean, okay, it won't have the right dome inside, but that won't really matter, but we'll see how it goes. So well, here we are. Here's what I've done now. Made this like framework up on the top, and I think, you know, just looking at it, you know, the curve just looks about right for a phone box. So, I mean, I put these blocks underneath, bent this plywood over, and it's all quite solid. Well, here we go. Here's the bodge of the century, really. Just really trying to get a, you know, an overall like feel for the, you know, the shape sort of thing, the arch over the top. And of course this is just all going to be scrap anyway, so it's just so I can, you know, I've got to fill in these gaps now, and then sort of try and fill them in some way, so I can make a fairly smooth go at the roof. And so this is what I've done with the roof now. I've actually covered it in duct tape, and okay, it's far from perfect, a million miles away really. Well, here we go. This is the fiberglass top now. I've just put the second coat on. I still think it's going to be an absolute mountain of work to get right. I mean, okay, we've got a rough dish the right size, but I'm hoping to be able to like pull this off in one bit, cut it to size, the exact size, and then if it's still a bit flexible, I'll glue it onto the top first, and then we can like start filling it then. But I you know, there's lumps and bumps all over it, to be honest, and I really, till I start doing it, I really don't know how easy it is going to be. I think it will be quite a lot of work, but
you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be like, you know, car body perfect or anything like that. I mean, you won't. Well, here we go, all my lovely work on the roof that you saw previously that I decided was incorrect. I've just bashed all that off. Unfortunately, obviously, I glued it down with copious amounts of tight bond glue, which stuck the hell out of it. So I've got plywood still, you know, around the edge a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. It's really splintery plywood, and I've caught myself a few times on it already, so I'm not going to take it off. I've just like whacked the nails in so they're kind of flattish. Now here we've got the dome bit, and it actually fits quite nice over here. You know, when I look at, I mean, it's still flexible. It's solid when it's on there. It's still a bit flexible, so I can clamp it or screw it to the sides. But you know, it actually fits pretty well. So what I'm going to do now is get it positioned on there and try and draw around so I can actually cut it before I put it on. I don't want to cut it when it's glued on, kind of thing. You know, I still don't realistically know how successful this is going to be, in all honesty, but it's the best I can think of at the moment, so let's carry on. Well, here we are, no different from icing a cake, but with car body filler. I've been over it all like once. Basically, you can see it's still very, you know, the surface is still very rough, but at least, you know, I've been like careful to get it now a nice even dome. So, well, hi there and welcome back to Phonebox Central on day God knows what of this build. I've basically done as much as I can with the roof. I mean, it's, you know, it's got the, obviously got the dome shape, but it's nowhere near you know, a quality smooth finish. I mean, what I have been working on, I mean, I haven't done a lot of recording on this, getting this up, because it has just been an absolute miserable job. If I ever make another phone box, I will be finding another way to do this lid, because fiberglass is just the most miserable substance on the planet. It is horrible, and I've not got the room really to do it, and it's just a mess, and I haven't enjoyed it at all. But what I'm doing now is these like edging bits, and what these are going to be is like the edge of the phone box lid around there, so you know, you can get like a good idea of what it'll look like, because in the drawings you can see that this is a detail of the edge of the roof. So I'm trying to replicate that the best I can here. You know, I've got that kind of section on the end, so that can go on like that, and it actually looks pretty good, really. So that actually what it'll end up looking like, which looks quite nice. I'll be doing a bit more sanding on them, but I want to get them roughly to shape, and the reason why I haven't actually cut them in one bit is that I'd be wasting a real vast amount of wood. I mean, well, here we are. Here's the roof now with these edges on it, and you know, I suppose it's looking more like a telephone box roof now, but I must have taken the dimensions are there, sort of thing, and this is, like I say, this is the proper kind of edge that it should have, although obviously it was done in cast iron, but you know, I think it'll look all right in the end, and bearing in mind that it's going to be 8 feet up, sort of thing. Well, hi there. I'm actually recording this separately after the phone box was built, but I've got a still picture of the completed roof unit here, if you like, but like I say, this is just a still picture of it, but it'll adequately do for what we want. Just to demonstrate here that you know, the roof is basically complete now apart from paint, and it's you know, we've got this fancy edge trim around the top, which is teardrop kind of thing, and big bit obviously you can see here we've got the telephone windows in, and I bought these from a company, I think they're called X Connect or something, that obviously do all the parts for telephone boxes, and that, you know, by the look of their website, they're obviously very proud of what they do, because they've got a map of the world where they've delivered all their telephone boxes to and things like that, which is really nice. But these are standard parts for a telephone box, and very reasonably priced as well. So you can see how well they fit now, and I've made the frame on the outside to to fit them too, and you know, so you just push them in from the back basically, and I'll be gluing these in, and yeah, you can see how well it looks now. It all looks pretty good, and so that's another little unit finished for the phone box.